This is not the bridge. This is my room. Oh, that's bad. That's real bad. Sarbek, how could you have let this happen? An assassination attempt upon the rogue trader in his own chambers, right under the noses of your enforcers. A fierce growl rumbles deep in Abelard's throat. Was that an assassination attempt? I mean, it was definitely weird, but I thought it was more potentially warpy or chaos than assassination, just pouring a bunch of blood into my bath. The Master at Arms radiates grim fury. Her eyes are dark, her lips pursed. With a practiced hand, she removes the maul from her belt and offers it to you. An unforgivable error. I accept full responsibility and ask for due punishment. I want an explanation, not vain chastisement. Put that weapon away and report. Everyone makes mistakes, I pardon you. Take the maul and beat Sarbak with it. Ha! No, give me an explanation, not vain self-chastisement. Sarbak hesitates for a moment before putting the maul away. Understood, Lord Captain, reporting. All adjacent decks have been isolated. We have begun our search for the culprit and have set up investigation headquarters on the officer's deck. The substance has been analyzed and confirmed to be blood containing traces of major mutations. Okay. While it poses no risk of infection to your lordship, the very presence of such genetic aberration on board is a serious threat to the safety of the ship and must be addressed promptly. Once word of this gets out, many among the crew will surely see it as a brazen challenge to your status as rogue trader. What genetic aberration? Could this have been an assassination attempt, or what do you intend to do next? What genetic aberration? The heresy of mutation. Mutants are vicious beasts who sow only ruin and death. They are devoid of all humanity, and the vile blood that runs through their veins feeds their unclean thoughts and urges. Numerous accounts speak of entire colonies falling prey to bloody uprisings staged by these creatures, all because their governors were too squeamish to order genetic purges. I'm pretty certain that both navigators and psykers are counted as a mutation. We're allowed mutation, sanctioned mutation, but still mutants. You don't say. I wonder why somebody we don't consider human and exterminate by the thousands would think to revolt. What a crazy mystery. Yeah, Dira, that's true. Alas, the Imperium's enemies are not limited only to those within its midst. Mutants can become a considerable threat, especially when given the chance to organize. The heretics have revealed themselves and are eager to fight? Then fight we shall. Let the vessel be purged of their filth. Could this have been an assassination attempt? Then they would have filled the bath with acid or poison instead. There are easier ways to kill someone than drowning them in blood, as foul as that blood may be. Cassia shudders. I beg to differ. Were something of this sort to happen to me, my heart would surely stop. What do you intend to do next? As one, every enforcer present gets on their knees. Lord Captain, this incident has cast a shadow on our honor. We only ask for one thing, a chance to absolve ourselves of our guilt. Allow me to head to the officer's deck at once, so that I may lead the investigation personally. Lord Captain, on a previous occasion, it was your intervention that resolved a matter that my own rigidity had only succeeded in making worse. With all due respect to Mistress Sarbak, perhaps she would benefit from your fresh perspective. Yeah. Okay. Seneschal, do you think so little of me that you would rob me of a chance to defend my honor? I will handle the investigation myself. If they wish to challenge me, then I shall take matters into my own hands. I'm curious to see the Master-at-Arms in action. I will preside over the investigation, or I want answers. I will take no part in this investigation. Notify me once you have found the culprit. I'm fine with this one. Like, we could personally lead the investigation, but also she is feeling down like she has failed. So I think giving her a chance to investigate while we are watching and helping, presiding over the investigation, I think is a healthy compromise. Of course, Lord Captain, I will arrange for an area befitting your status to be prepared on the officer's deck. Interesting. Ablution in blood. Well, I kind of want to take care of that right away. Yeah, go down to that quest, wherever it is. Brazen attempt on the rogue trader's life took place in his own bath chamber. Someone filled the bathtub with blood. The culprit must be found. Okay, let's go down to the officer's deck then, which I think requires us to go to this, because this probably is just to our quarters, and it is. But yeah, filling our bathtub with blood is super gross. Lord Captain. Officer's deck. Oh, and we are bringing people. We are definitely going to bring Abelard to this. Let's send Argento rather than Irlet into our investigation. And I feel like Heinrichs, being an interrogator with the Inquisition, might also be useful for determining what's going on. But who would he replace? Because normally he would replace Abelard, but I want Abelard there as well. Maybe Pascal. It is sadly going to force me to go through the effort of leveling up Heinrichs 6 times, which I'm not thrilled about. Arguably, I shouldn't let these people fall that far behind. But let's throw Heinrichs in for Pascal. I think that's a sensible crew for the investigation. Sarback barks at the officers gathered before you. His lordship, the rogue trader, has seen fit to honor us with his presence in order to monitor the course of the investigation. You are expected to perform your duties immaculately and report your every step to me. Should any of your actions bring shame to the enforcers, you will answer to me personally. Lord Captain, the 3 officers before you have been tasked with conducting the investigation. The first, Captain Klein, is a veteran with a record of quelling uprisings of mutant abominations in the colonies. Captain Ginevri is young, but she has already preempted several mutinies among the ship's rabble. Lastly, there's Captain Hrotko. His interrogation skills deserve credit, and he knows how to instill fear and respect firmly in the minds of the riffraff. After careful assessing the officers' bearing and their uniforms, Abelard nods with satisfaction. Their drilling is good. Their service records are excellent. Let's see how they perform in the field. What are your findings thus far? We have discovered a worker's corpse, mutilated and desiccated. We are still looking into the man's identity and position, but the chirurgeon report has confirmed that among all the blood that was pumped into your bath chamber, the blood-carrying mutation was indeed his. The workers from the nearby decks have been checked for genetic aberration, but the mutations identified are all within the norm for laboring masses. They are being rounded up for the interrogation as we speak. Even taking into account the neighboring decks only, that constitutes hundreds of people. How do you plan to question them all? Our interrogation techniques are broad and varied. However, nothing loosens the tongue like corporal punishment, beatings, mutilations, torture, public executions. Sarback almost purrs as she lists ways of making people suffer. When combined with psychological pressure, such methods work wonders. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with that. It is inhumane. I order you to immediately cease using these barbaric methods. A fine approach I approve. An unfortunate necessity. Let's return to other matters. Like, this is the grim, dark future. And I can understand corporal punishment on the guilty, I guess in 40k it's not that out of place for corporal punishment to just try and get information, but still it feels like a lot. But that's me being more 21st century minded than 41st millennium minded. I'm gonna have to say no. Stop using such barbaric methods. Lord Captain, these methods may be brutal, but their effectiveness has been proven over centuries of practice. No criminal will confess if you ask them politely, but if you shatter their finger and courteously remind them how many unshattered bones they still have left in their body, that is a different conversation altogether. That is how the truth is born. And torture doesn't always get you the truth. People will just say whatever to stop the torture. I have faith that my Master of Arms is capable of finding other methods of seeking out the truth. I gave you an order now to do it. Entirely true. In that case, carry on. No. I have faith that you're capable of finding other methods of seeking out the truth. Sourbeck's glove creaks as she grips her maul. Her gaze remains cold and calm. As you command, Lord Captain. Do you have any working theories? The mutants are plotting, Klein spits in disgust. They've been breeding like void rats, so they're getting cocky. Must have wanted to infect your lordship with their plague. It wasn't an attempt on the Lord Captain's life. It was a threat. The rabble are planning a revolt, so they're trying to terrorize us. Soon you will drown in blood. Insurgents pride themselves on such metaphors. Meanwhile, Captain Hrotko is convinced that it was the work of Voltvier's surviving cultists. However, I believe this to be a warning rather than a threat. What we need to establish is who is trying to warn us and of what. Interesting hypotheses, but I doubt it is that simple. Mistress Sourbeck grant me access to the investigative files. I have my own thoughts on what is going on here. The Master-at-Arms nods coldly. Of course, Master Interrogator. Yeah, that's why you're here. In this case, Heinrichs, is because you're good at the Inquisition, finding theories, working out what's really going on. What do you propose we investigate first? The body. Once we have ascertained the dead man's identity, we'll be able to locate his associates and narrow down the number of suspects. Captain Klein is in charge of examining the corpse. Yes, your lordship. I'm almost done with my report. As soon as it's ready, I'll deliver it to you. Then let us begin. While we wait for Klein to report back, please enjoy the refreshments that have been prepared for you, Lord Captain. Captain Klein snaps to attention. Identifying the victim has proven impossible. His face has been smashed in and his body is badly maimed. There are too many wounds to determine the exact cause of death, but presumably he died after the killer slit his throat. That's how they drained his blood. No external signs of mutation were found. In other words, we have nothing. Klein, this isn't a report, it's a declaration of our incompetence before the Lord Captain. You will keep digging around inside that corpse until you have produced some results. No external signs of mutation, you say. What about internal signs? Or awareness 25. Study the enforcers' faces. I will do that, as it's an option. Cassia, what can you tell me about the enforcers' faces? Ginevra looks at Klein with sympathy. She clearly cares about him, but does not wish to trample on her comrade's honor with words of comfort. Hrotko regards Klein with a contemptuous smirk, while Klein scowls back at him. So we've got a bit of a rivalry between Hrotko and Klein, and Ginevra cares about Klein. Okay. No external sign of mutation, you say? What about internal signs? Performing an autopsy was inadvisable due to the danger of contaminating the area with the genetic aberration. You see a flash of genuine horror in Klein's eyes before his gaze turns glassy. You've seen that look before in the eyes of other veterans. It is the expression of someone reliving painful memories that have left behind deep scars. They cannot hope to overcome such trauma on their own. They would need help, or a partner, or perhaps some strong emotional stimulus. I have heard that Medicaid officers often perform autopsies in pairs. One cuts up the body, the other records their findings. You should get a partner, Klein. Or coercion 45. Turn away from Klein. It would seem that I had an exaggerated opinion of the veteran's courage. He should get some rest. Let Hrotko take over his duties. We would have a 100% chance of succeeding there. Okay, so we're looking at these people. Hrotko is smirking because Klein failed. So forcing Hrotko to do the thing Klein doesn't want to feels like it could be fitting. But also potentially Klein would work better if he had Ginevri working with him. Because they get along. I don't know which of these is better. Although usually using a skill check gives you better results. And I'm not against forcing Hrotko to do the thing that he's mocking Klein for failing at. Yeah, so Klein can get some rest. Hrotko take over his duties. Indeed, Klein, why don't you go take a break? Maybe it's time you considered asking for a transfer to a less demanding post. Your best years are behind you. You should make way for the younger generation. Okay, so that's... I guess that is a negative viewpoint on Klein because it was me saying exaggerated opinion. Maybe I should have gone with the other one. But oh well, Hrotko should hopefully get the results we were hoping for. Is my hope. Klein's face turns a deep red. Shut your damn mouth, Hrotko. The things I've seen, the filth I've crushed. You want me to gut another one? You want to see its mutant blood on my hands? I'll show you blood. Well played, Lord Captain. It's been some time since I last saw this kind of fire in the old man's eyes. Okay, so it looks like Klein is going to still do it, not Hrotko. That's fine. Klein is up to his elbows in blood, his eyes flaring defiantly. I've examined the filth inside and out. Its innards are a genetic nightmare. It's a bag of corruption wrapped in human skin. Extra organs, scales, atrophied ingrown limbs, but that's not what's important. The body was disfigured posthumously. They killed the mutant with surgical precision before opening his throat and draining his blood. It wasn't until after the actual murder that they crushed his head and tried to cover up his wounds. The wounds were so brutal, I almost missed his work tattoo. The victim was a pipe warden, and I found this in his throat. Klein presents a blood-stained raven feather. Lore Imperium test succeeded. A certain legend springs to your mind, one involving Saint Quirine, who was granted a portent of enemies hiding among the faithful. When Quirine prayed to the Emperor for a sign that might reveal the traitors, a raven's feather burst out of her mouth to inscribe the names of the conspirators. Only someone versed in the symbology of the Imperium could have left such a message. For what purpose was the corpse mutilated? It is imperative that we find whoever mutilated the body. Remember Saint Quirine, could this be a sign? What tattoo do pipe wardens have to do with anything? Klein, I wish to gift you a glass of amass for your good work. You look like you need it. Or well, at least you did something useful on your second attempt. Harsh. I'm gonna bring up Saint Quirine in case anyone else failed at that Lore Imperium test. Vile mutants do not make allusions to saints. This was someone versed in the creed. What tattoo? Do pipe wardens have to do with anything? The pipe wardens are a worker clan that services the ship's sewer systems. The tattoo indicates the worker's status and personnel number. This one was SP-246-01, Senior Pipe Warden. For what purpose was the corpse mutilated? Someone wanted to hide the cause of death. What I fail to understand is why they would then leave the body out in the open instead of disposing it. It is imperative we find whoever mutilated the body. I mean, obviously. I concur. Would you like to give us specific instructions, Lord Captain? Oh, did that get rid of my option to give him amass? Shame. Look for a lunatic. Only a madman would butcher a corpse in this way. No, it seems like someone trained in Imperial lore and very skilled because they carefully cut him open with precision. One cannot disfigure a body like that and stay clean. Look for any bloodstained garments, rags, or the like. We need to find the weapon or object that was used in mutilating the corpse. Specifics are merely an impediment of flexible thinking. Follow your heart. Okay. I mean, out of these options, I don't think the lunatic. That doesn't seem right. Finding the murder weapon would be good, but also trying to find the murderer based on blood could work. Maybe. This one just feels weird. Sip Amasek. Follow your heart. I'd say look for blood. Blood-stained garments, rags, or the like. Sarback nods firmly. If the perpetrator was in a hurry to cover their tracks, they may not have had time to dispose of the soiled clothing. I thank your lordship for your wise counsel. Okay, we can go back to here to gifting him Amasek. Klein, I wish to gift you a glass of Amasek for your good work. You look like you need it. Klein accepts the glass and downs it instantly. Evidently, he is in no state to savor the bouquet of taste and taste the fine drink you've offered him. What is our next step? We should run the victim's identification number through the masterwork log cogitator. Any type of digital computer in the Imperium. I know what a cogitator is. I was hoping you'd tell me more about what the masterwork log cogitator. If its machine spirit favors us, we will be able to narrow down the number of suspects. Ginevri, this is your arena. Ginevri approaches you, followed by a dignified woman in crimson robes. Allow me to introduce the esteemed tech priest Androveda Phi. She believes she has the right to obstruct the investigation and refuse to grant the enforcers access to their master cogitator. I wish we had Pascal now. He'd have things to say about this person. The tech priest lets out an indignant binaric trill. I request that the laywoman's willful activities be halted. She intended to torment the machine spirit of the master work log cogitator Iota IIB. The venerable spirit is ill and in no disposition to endure such abuse. What is the problem with the machine spirit? The spirit is old and quick to anger. It therefore calls for a sensitive approach, not a torturous intrusion by a brutish laywoman. Since the start of this watch, the spirit has been unwell, so we have been trying to soothe its woes and apply sacred unguents, and sensing the great machine's boards. The dogma of data recuperative quarantine prohibits any disturbances to blessed machines found to be in such a state. What exactly does this data recuperative dogma prescribe? Let no profane hand touch the sacred machine stricken. Let the mechanism be shielded from all worldly troubles by a veil of righteous litany, and let its shrine be thricely honored till the malady is no more. Judging by Ginevri's expression, she would rather have her profane hands touch Androveda Phi's neck. Lay people may be prohibited from communing with the machine spirit, but you are not, esteemed tech priest. Ginevri will merely stand by your side and observe. Or, well then, the solution is quite simple. We cut off the esteemed tech priest's hand and use it to commune with the machine spirit. No. The persuasion will be fine. We're just going to ask the tech priest to do the search instead. Androveda Phi shoots Ginevri a sidelong glance. Very well, I shall disturb the spirit, but I demand that the laywoman show respect and do as she is told. Raising her hands high, Androveda Phi wails, Omnisci preserve us. The great spirit was infected by a layperson. That is the culprit you should be searching for, not some pipe warden. Sacrilege! We have discovered that the cogitator's malfunction began after an unauthorized attempt to access it was made. Someone deliberately angered the machine spirit in order to bury the work logs. Thankfully, the esteemed tech priest was able to appease the spirit and extract the information we needed. The victim's name was Orto. On the day he died, he was servicing valve 27B, which supplies water to the rogue trader's bath chamber. He also had a partner who has yet to appear for duty since the incident occurred. We have a suspect. Did the murderer get to the cogitator too? Impossible. Since the start of the watch, this area has been used as the center of operations. No rabble could have slipped by unnoticed. Moreover, a common pipe warden wouldn't know how to commune with a machine spirit. The murderer had help. Who is the partner? Senior Pipe Warden Gwendon, number SP26855. An 8th generation Pipe Warden, no registered infractions, excellent discipline, perfect work record. An exemplary servant of the Imperium. Master at Arms, how do you propose we find our new suspect? I'm guessing, given that Gwendon has perfect record and is awesome, that they're not guilty and they've probably also been murdered, because that was a lot of blood. How do you propose we find our new suspect? Before Sauerback can respond, Hrotko cuts in. Your lordship, there was a man named Gwendon among the rabble waiting to be interrogated. He immediately struck me as suspicious. Please, allow me to question the man in your presence. Sauerbeck narrows her eyes, but all she says is, bring him in, now. I'm feeling that Hrotko is up to something. Before you stands a gaunt man in work clothes. His face is swollen from the bruises, and several of his fingers are broken and sticking out at odd angles. He stares vacantly into the distance with watery eyes. Didn't I say they're not allowed to beat people up and break fingers as part of the interrogation? I'm pretty sure I specifically stated that. Start talking, you miserable wretch. You tried to kill the Lord Captain, didn't you? Hrotko grabs the worker by the lapels. Gwendon's coat flies open, revealing crude occult symbols painted all over his body. What's this? Heretical brands? Cultist scum? That seems too... Again, I'm blaming Hrotko at this point. And the idea that he went out, beat up a guy, painted cultist symbols on him to cover his tracks definitely seems possible to me. Gwendon yells, barring what remains of his teeth. Yes, it was me. Oh, okay, I stand corrected. I tried to put a curse on the Lord Captain. I killed my partner in a wicked ritual, rubbed elbows with the demons, consorted with them, all to carry out a dark plot and doom the Lord Captain for the glory of my almighty master. He bursts into a fit of hysterical theatrical cackling. Okay, I changed my mind. Gwendon seems like he is in the wrong. We have ourselves a model cultist here. There is a ritual, a curse, and a plot. He even consorted with them demons. How kind of him to confess to all of that immediately. Yeah, it could be a false confession. If he was beat up enough and told that you will make this claim or you die. Could be. It does seem a little convenient that he just confessed to everything. His words, he is trying to paint them over with fake garish hues, but his abject terror carries with it too much black and gray. What does he hope to accomplish with this? He has admitted everything, the vermin. I have insisted time and again that the assassination attempt was carried out by one of Voltvir's surviving henchmen, and I was right. I guess we weren't so thorough in clearing them out as we thought. Hrotko casts a sharp look at Sauerbeck. Assess the enforcer's reaction to the confession. Why has he been beaten? I ordered that the beatings be stopped. Very true. Does the Master at Arms not find it strange that the suspect is so eager to paint himself as a heretic, and in such a preposterous fashion, no less? Yeah, probably false confession. So this is the work of the Final Dawn. Execute the heretic and be done with it. No, we're going to check out the reaction of the enforcer. Hrotko looks proud and self-important. Ginevri is biting her nail, as if hesitant to say anything. Sauerbeck is observing the worker in silence, apparently sunk deep in thought. Meanwhile, Klein merely stands still with a distrustful grimace on his face. Other than Hrotko, no one here seems to believe that you are looking at the real culprit. Why has he been beaten? I ordered that such beatings be stopped. My apologies, your lordship. This one was interrogated before your order was given. I will take responsibility for not anticipating it. Expertly done. Ginevri, you have much to learn from Hrotko. When you agree, Jocasta? Seems that Klein was too quick to blame the mutants. We are dealing with demon worshippers here. I mean, again, I typically like the skill checks, but both of those are just like, yep, everything's kosher and good. And yeah, it's feeling like false confession, and Hrotko is to blame. So being like, oh yeah, Hrotko's awesome, everyone else should learn from him, feels weird. Does the Master at Arms not find it strange that the suspect is so eager to paint himself as a heretic, and in such a preposterous fashion, no less? I agree, Lord Captain. Sauerbeck growls at the worker. I want the truth. Who are you, and who told you to give us this pathetic confession? The man blanches and starts bawling. He gives up on his sinister theatrics and babbles in the voice of a common worker. Forgive me, your lordship. I'm not Gwendon, and I'm not a heretic. Yart's me name. I'm a laundryman. Please, have mercy. They took my family. That enforcer said she'd throw them out the airlock if I don't confess. She made me draw these unholy marks on myself. Abelard casts a significant glance in Sauerbeck's direction. Your enforcers have a knack for persuasion, Mr. Sauerbeck, but this is ridiculous. What enforcer? Name. Give me her name. Ginevri. Her name was Ginevri. Wait, Ginevri's the guilty one? What? I swear that I have not... Genevri. The steely edge in Sauerback's voice causes everyone present to freeze, but you also hear a note of bewilderment. We will deal with her later. I will handle the search for Gwedon myself. Lord Captain, would you have us execute this demon worshipper? Can't we ask the guy, like, hey, this is Genevri. Is this the person you saw? Because, again, whoever told him to make that and said their name was Genevri was probably lying. Hold on. He's lied to us more than once, and maybe he's lying to us still. Genevri, do you have something to say? Or Iconoclast, spare the man. Wash up those heretical symbols and let him rejoin his family. Hang the heretic. Even partial symbols and mentions of the archenemy are capable of drawing corruption. Cut his rations for a month and have him scrub the lower decks after shifts. Burn him and his family along with him. Be sure to leave him for last. Dude, I don't think I could play a heretical playthrough. It's a bit much. I do not care. I leave this decision to you. Genevri, do you have anything to say? I have never threatened his family, and I certainly did not force him to lie and draw heretical symbols. I barely even remember his face. I may have interrogated him beforehand, but it was someone else who put him up to this. And yet he knows your name and pointed you out right away. Do you not find that funny? And do you not find it funny that your head is always up your arse, Fratko? It's obvious that someone framed her. Cease this bickering. Sauerback's snarl forces the officers to back down. Lord Captain, what we have here is a liar, and a well-coached one at that. He will never confess on his own. What do you suggest we do? He will confess, we just need to apply a little more torture. We need to change our approach, bandage his wounds, and give him food. Talk to him gently and with kindness. I refuse to believe that there's not a single person who saw them being manhandled. Find those witnesses. Or pensively take an appetizer. Faith changes people. Take a book of Psalms and read it to him until he confesses. Like all of these approaches, sip your Amasec, or it just seems weird. But I do like this one, that someone else had to have seen when this torture occurred. Find who that was, and maybe they'll have more information. But also, there is the idea that if we treat him gently, maybe he will talk. Maybe he won't. But I don't think just more torture. I mean, maybe it would work. Threatening his family apparently worked in the past. I think the more important thing is to find witnesses. Read him Psalms until he confesses is just weird to me. Find the other witnesses. That makes sense. You cannot beat a man half to death without everyone in the compartment getting wind of such a scene. We will look into it. What do you want to do with him when we are done? Spare the man, hang the man, cut his rations. I'm really not good at playing dogmatic. Like, I've recognized that early on. Like, I like the idea of playing dogmatic in this universe, but just the kill everyone because they might be a heretic just feels rough. So we're gonna go to the Iconoclast. Spare the man and let him rejoin his family. It will be done. There's no cause for alarm, Lord Captain. This conspirator may have been a fake, but now it is only a matter of time before we find the real culprit. We have the pipe warden's names and identification numbers, and we know which clan they are from. We will keep pressing the riffraff until either the culprit confesses or someone turns him in. I will handle this. The Master-at-Arms pointedly grips the maul on her belt. Please enjoy your meal in the interim, Lord Captain. The scoundrel will appear before us soon enough. Lord Captain, the real pipe warden Gwedon has been found and is being escorted here as we speak. Are there any remaining questions you wish to address before we hear Gwedon himself? You can start by reporting on the results of the additional investigative efforts. Absolutely, Lord Captain. Your insightful suggestion helped the enforcers to locate the evidence. In fact, we found a bloody synth coat in one of the vents, a standard issue included in every enforcer's outfit on the ship. We found witnesses to the battery of our false conspirator. According to them, an enforcer in a helmet came to the detained Yart, spoke to him, and then gave him a beating so thorough that a ring came off their finger. Alas, said ring could not be recovered. This concludes my report. Someone attempted to mislead our investigation. We cannot let this go without consequence. Undoubtedly, let's go over the facts we have on this sabotage and compile them. The body of the deceased was mutilated after death. It is likely that the nature of the injuries would have proven very useful in the investigation, and that the perpetrator concealed them for that very reason. Someone sabotaged the work log cogitator, so it would be harder for us to find the victim's partner, who might have information valuable to the investigation. Instead of the murdered man's partner, we were given a fool, one who thoroughly incriminated himself first before admitting that Captain Ginevri had put him up to it. Sauerback glowers at Ginevri, and she pales with fear. Who is guarding the body? Who had access to the work log cogitator? Suspect Yart claims that you coerced him into lying about himself. Ginevri, what do you have to say for yourself? Who is guarding the body? It was Ginevri. Klein reluctantly nods at his fellow enforcer. I relieved her when I came to inspect the corpse, which by then had already been cut up. Ginevri nervously adjusts her armor under Sauerback's piercing gaze. The corpse was already looking like that when it came under my purview, but I could not get the name of the officer who discovered it. The deck was such a mess that I decided I would deal with it later. A bloody synth coat was discovered not far from the corpse. I would ask the enforcers in this room to present their coats. Who had access to the cogitators? Yeah, I would ask the enforcers in this room to present their coats. The rustle of synthetic fabric fills the room. All the enforcers show their coats, except Hratko. He shrugs complacently under the gaze of his comrades. I do not wear it. An enforcer must be able to withstand the cold, and the serfs treat synth coats as a sign of weakness. Behind the armor of affected indifference, his thoughts ooze grimy hues, like blood mixed with umber. It looks vile. There's a lot pointing to Ginevri, but I still think Hratko seems villainous. Who had access to the work log cogitator? The tech priest did not let anyone near the cogitator. They even tried to prevent the enforcer's investigation. Ginevri, were you there the entire time? Yes, ma'am, since the start of the watch. I went there right after I handed the body over to Klein. The only time I stepped away was to retrieve the data slate from my quarters. I left a watchman, but he went missing. Most likely one of the other officers did not realize he was on duty and sent him off on some errand, but I was only gone for a few minutes. Can we find that officer and find out who sent him away? Very convenient. A missing sentry, a data slate misplaced against regulations. Hratko drums his finger on a holster on his belt, where his own data slate sits tightly nestled. I don't understand how I could have forgotten it. I always check my gear when I go on duty. Suspect Yart claims that you coerced him into lying about himself, Ginevri. What do you have to say for yourself? I may have conducted his preliminary interrogation, like so many others. Hratko requested my assistance because of my experience in dealing with the rabble, but I swear that there is no truth to these accusations against me. I have never threatened his family, and I certainly did not force him to lie and draw heretical signs. I barely even remember his face. I may have interrogated him beforehand, but it was someone else who put him up to this. The transcript says you conducted Yart's interrogation alone. Why is that? Because I can handle a single laundryman. Ginevri raises her chin proudly. Witnesses saw Yart being knocked around by an enforcer wearing a ring. Let's see her hands. The enforcers take off their gloves. Not one of them is wearing a ring. However, you do find a small mark on Hratko's little finger, as if it had been wearing a ring, wearing some sort of band on it for a long time. Are you no longer wearing your family ring, Hratko? Klein gives him a bloodthirsty scowl. Not on duty, and certainly not in a compartment full of detained rabble. Hratko's voice is icily calm. We've got some evidence that does point to Ginevri. We've got some evidence that does point to Hratko. I still think Hratko's guilty. but I can't say that with confidence. Hrotko, this is your doing, is it not? Sarbeck draws her auto pistol and points it at Hrotko, who appears entirely unperturbed. I will give you one chance to retain your last shred of honor and confess. You sabotaged the investigation. Why? Is it not obvious? Hrotko smugly arches an eyebrow. To expose the conspiracy myself and prove your incompetence to his lordship. To take the place I actually deserve. For years I toiled for the good of the dynasty, but when the former Master-at-Arms was killed, I was refused my promotion. Instead, they gave the position to you, a self-serving sourback nit. I guess a noble name means more than talent. When this crime occurred, I realized it was my chance to show what I was worth. While you were busy dallying, I quickly learned the name of the suspect, diverted the course of the investigation, an easy enough task, and began to look for the real Gwedon. Had I found him in time, your position would have already been mine, Jocasta. Huh. Simply listen to yourself, and you will understand why they made me Master-at-Arms. Lord Captain, I request permission to dispose of this refuse personally. Hrotko, were you really hoping you could deceive the Master-at-Arms to me? Why were you trying to frame Ginevri? You do not seem to fear punishment. And then, looks like those are our decisions of what to do with him. Were you really hoping you could deceive the Master-at-Arms and me? Your dismissive tone makes Hrotko flinch with indignation. I had every chance, but you were shrewder than I expected. My little trick with the body did work. You still don't know who was behind it all, but I have already figured it out. I hid Gwedon from you by damaging the cogitator and delivering you a fake. An idiot willing to incriminate himself out of fear. I have prepared a contingency plan in case he cracks by making sure he would blame someone else. Yet, there were a couple of slip-ups, but you must admit it was a solid attempt overall. Why are you trying to frame Ginevri? A backup plan. You always need someone to blame if you make a mistake. Hrotko's voice sounds calm, even casual. I could have framed Klein, but that young upstart was already galloping through the ranks too fast and was clearly aiming for my station. Besides, she and her thick-witted subordinates were always right where I wanted them to be. You do not seem to fear punishment. With all due respect, your lordship, I'm an enforcer. I have looked death in the eye, and I will accept your judgment with dignity. There's no bravado in Hrotko's words, just a dry statement of fact. Iconoclast, I'll give you a chance. You are to be demoted and to become an initiate at the shrine, where you'll spend the rest of your days in penance and servitude. Hrotko, for your crimes of sabotage, slander, and heresy, I condemn you to death. Master-at-Arms, carry out the sentence. You are a liar and a blackguard, but I commend you for your intelligence. I have no need of such enforcers, but I could use another spy. You will sow confusion among my rivals for the good of the dynasty. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the dogmatic option. Like, I could demote him and make him serve in a shrine, but no. There was an assassination attempt on my life, and rather than helping us solve it, you were intentionally obfuscating the facts. Not good. Master-at-Arms, carry out the sentence. Hrotko tries to speak, but his words are cut off by a devastating blow to the jaw. He collapses to the ground, but Sourback raises the maul again and delivers another blow, this time straight to his ribs. She stretches out the pleasure, slowly crushing his bones and savoring every scream. When she is done, she finally allows the bloody mess that was once Hrotko to die where it lies. Daring Destiny gained the Triumph of Justice. The flagship shield's strength and evasion are increased by 5%. The gruesome execution of Captain Hrotko has increased the diligence of both the enforcers and those who have been entrusted to supervise. The crews of the engines and shields modules now work their hardest for fear of punishment. I mean, that's not necessarily exactly what I was aiming for, but sure. That takes care of the traitor. Now let us proceed with the interrogation of the Pipe Warden.